This is a bit of a unique video. It's the first time I'm reviewing two episodes at once for comparison. At a glance, the similarities between Johto's Hot Spring Fever and Diamond & Pearl's Hot Spring Elite may seem surface level. The Pokemon of the day is Swinub, and the main external conflict centers around a hot spring. But that's the thing, they aren't really the same, and that says a lot. These two episodes show a very big difference in the style of filler writing between Diamond & Pearl and Johto, a comparison that Diamond & Pearl handles mightily better. So today we'll be comparing and contrasting these two to see what Diamond & Pearl does right to improve on its older counterpart. The first place I want to discuss is in continuity. While both of these episodes are filler in a technical definition, they're both parts of larger arcs within the respective series. For Johto, this is the middle episode of a three-part arc centered around the return of Tottsnap in his quest to find the legendary Articuno. Meanwhile, Diamond & Pearl is near the start of Dawn's depression arc, coming off of two big losses during the first round and her first massive test of character. These aren't the primary elements of each episode, but how they handle them shows off the clear difference in these series' quality. For Johto, the Tottsnap arc plays almost no role in the proceedings. It just doesn't matter. It's mentioned once at the beginning and the end, and once in the middle, but that's it. We don't progress this plot point through the actions in the main plot. You could cut this episode and just have it be a two-parter with the first and last episode and almost nothing would change. Diamond & Pearl's integration with the larger plot is a lot more subtle, but also a lot better. Dawn's larger character arc is also really only brought up at the beginning and the end, but it hangs over the entire episode. This is an episode whose internal conflict is about Dawn finding her confidence again, or at least getting back in the right headspace. It's the small things like how she interacts with Leona and the battle at the end that build onto the larger arc her character is going through. Yes, it's similar to the Johto episode in that you can have the arc without it, but there'll be something missing without it. There's that bit of growth to Dawn in this arc that you miss without this episode. Even with that aside, this episode also has a big advantage in continuity. That's because this episode adds a ton to Dawn's background. It fills out her past with a new childhood friend in Leona and reinforces that new Leona lore with the flashback scenes. Speaking of Leona, that's another interesting point of comparison between this episode and the Johto one, how they handle their characters of the day. This is also a place where Diamond & Pearl has the edge. Leona is introduced as Dawn's childhood friend, automatically giving us an attachment to her and a reason to care. By contrast, Johto's characters of the days are, well, Johto characters of the day. They're introduced uninterestingly, they don't really have much going on, and in general are kind of nothing characters. Like, to put in perspective how unmemorable these characters are, I couldn't remember their names after I first watched the episode. Only on the rewatch did I remember that their names were Peggy and Rory. Except, no, because I forgot Rory's name almost instantly after the first time it was mentioned and thought it was Roy until I looked back on the footage. They are that boring. And all of this isn't even going into the fact that the names of their Swinubs are Sue, Ein, and Ub. Lazy, just lazy. So, yeah, in general, these characters have a far less going for them than Leona. That bad matchup of characters of the day also reflects the bad matchup against the series in general. These are both episodes that are very much products of the series that they hail from, and boy is the difference staggering. Diamond & Pearl is just so much better written, all the characters feel way more alive, and the dialogue is so much snappier. The plot structure's better, and obviously with the new technology it's visually better. It's the little things that makes this more fun. Johto, meanwhile, feels very much stuck in that mid-Johto quagmire post-GS ball drop-off. You can feel the writers going through the motions. The plot structures are painfully obvious from the get-go. That's kind of the episode's main problem. It's textbook filler. You just know with the setup what's going to happen. Action Company beat the character of the day. They have some sort of problem that the gang tries to solve. Team Rocket shows up, causes trouble. They get blasted off again, and the character of the day's problem is solved. End of episode. This episode is exactly that with no bells and whistles. Granted, when you take an overview look, the Diamond & Pearl episode also seems like that. The difference, however, is that it does have those bells and whistles. This isn't a new character of the day, it's Dawn's childhood friend. Team Rocket doesn't show up after the plot is well underway to introduce unrelated conflicts to the episode. They are the direct cause of the main plot's problems. The character of the day's problem isn't just solved, it's solved through her character relationship with one of our protagonists. And that relationship also helps Dawn in her larger arc in the story at the same time. Again, it's these little writing improvements that go a long way to make Diamond & Pearl feel more well written and more fleshed out than this mid-Johto empty hole. When it comes to the plots themselves, oh boy, is the Johto one a sticker. So our character of the days had this issue where their Swinub can't seem to find hot springs. A very big problem when your job is to find hot springs. Then Team Rocket shows up, and after a long segment of Team Rocket shenanigans and a long plan to help the Terps with their issue as a ruse to steal the Swinub, they, steal the Swinub. I'll talk about the Team Rocket antics later, but for now, I want to focus on how these two plot points have nothing connecting them, and the Team Rocket plot basically puts the Swinub can't find hot springs plot on hold. That is very poor structuring and writing. Your external and internal conflicts have nothing to do with each other, and it makes for an experience that feels endlessly unfocused. Speaking of unfocused, suddenly box sliding. Box sliding, huh? Box sliding what? Box sliding, excuse me? How technically is this supposed to work? What are we doing here? Holy padding glider, man! Yeah, the box sliding bit comes out of freaking nowhere. It makes zero sense. Seriously, how are you getting these random boxes slider on a rough mountain train? And it's also about as unconnected to everything else with the plot as, well, everything else. But you know what? It's almost fine. I mean, conceptually, it's a fun action set piece in what's been otherwise uneventful episode, so there's some enjoyment to be had. However, it's still pretty rough with poor animation, so it doesn't really make up for its total randomness and lack of basic logic. Meanwhile, Diamond and Pearl's central plot isn't anything crazy. Compared to the rest of Diamond and Pearl, it's benign. But next to the Johto episode, the improvements are there and obvious. Team Rocket directly causes the main conflict of the hot springs going cold, rather than taking away from the main conflict, thus giving the plot point an actual sense of purpose. The structure in general is much cleaner and has a lot less holes in it. Plot elements flow into each other better. The gang arrives at Leona's place, they want to take a dip in the hot springs, but there's no hot water, they search for the hot water, find and then prove Team Rocket is stealing it, and then beat them. At no point is there any plot element that doesn't go somewhere or is resolved in an unsatisfying way. Leona mentioning her parents are searching for the cause of the issue? That comes back with the Wooper during the fight, followed shortly by their arrival. Leona mentioning her Swinub knowing Dig? That comes back several times throughout the episode. All the flashbacks to Dawn and Leona's childhood? They build on top of each other to flesh out their relationship and arc through the Team Rocket plot and the final battle. As for Team Rocket themselves, in terms of characterization, this is where the comparison gets a bit more interesting, as Johto actually kind of puts up a fight here, and it's not a clear win for Diamond and Pearl. Yes, their place in the main plot is better in the Diamond and Pearl episode, as I said before, but their shenanigans in the Johto ones is low-key kind of more fun. Like, sure, their first bit with Jessie imagining Team Rocket opening a hot spring business is about on par with the Diamond and Pearl episode's version of that bit, and some of their other segments are a bit random, but I don't know, the part where they strike oil is enjoyable. The Diamond and Pearl episode's Team Rocket shenanigans in comparison feel like the more fillery parts of their episode. I mean, the robots need, but the boss fantasy is, well, a boss fantasy, and the model feels very stretched out here. I don't know, maybe that's because everything around the shenanigans is better, and so those moments feel more annoying in contrast, but Johto's Team Rocket definitely gets into more fun antics that have more character and personality. Alright, back to clear wins for Diamond and Pearl. The conclusions. Both of the episodes end on a final fight. Heck, Diamond and Pearl has two. And on the surface, both episodes' final fights are fights for the sake of fights, for the sake of having an action piece at the end of the episode to leave off on. But the execution of these fights are a stark contrast. The Johto episode fight feels very fillery, the animation is very bad, at times feeling like cardboard moving across the screen, and the strategies are boring standard Team Rocket battle stuff. No thought or care, just fight. Like, when the random Jessie modeling bit that breaks the pace of the fight something fierce is the most interesting part, that's a big problem. The worst part, however, is the conclusion, though. After Team Rocket is dealt with, the Swinub are suddenly able to find hot springs again. Man, that is just such poor execution. The episode freaking forgets this plot point, puts it on a shelf, and then doesn't resolve it until the last 2 minutes. And the logic behind it is ludicrous. They don't do any training or specialized methods to help with the failing hot springs locator. They just fight Team Rocket and find the hot springs under the guise of a hand wave, but that'll help them rev up their noses, which is like complete garbage. You can make the argument of, ooh, that's just how it is in the games, they gain experience, except no you can't, episode 9, remember? The anime and the games aren't the same when it comes to battles. In the anime world, battle experience and the experience needs to do a job like finding hot springs are unrelated. It's like gaining experience in coding by learning how to play soccer. It just makes no sense at all. Diamond and Pearl, by contrast, takes this idea of ending its external conflict before the internal one and improves on it in several ways. I mean, for one thing, the internal conflict is way more interesting and factors throughout the episode instead of being something that's sidelined for most of it, but there's also structural improvements it makes too. It ends its Team Rocket plot much earlier, giving us time and breathing room to have a proper battle between our protagonists. This setup allows for us to expect a lot more. We're not doing the same song and dance with Ash's Pokemon versus Team Rocket's Pokemon. We're in for something a little different. Unlike a Team Rocket fight, our heroes aren't expected to win. In fact, with the way it's set up, we aren't exactly rooting for one side or the other, which is just a way cooler and more interesting thing to do than Team Rocket fight number 527. The strategies and animation are also cut above the Johto one. It's not exactly cream of the Diamond and Pearl crop, but you can just tell how much better the writers and animators have gotten over the years between Johto and Diamond and Pearl. And finally, unlike the Johto episode where the problem of the Swinub not being able to find the hot spring is set up, ignored for both the episode, and then resolved in the last 2 minutes in a shoehorned way, This episode's internal conflict is properly built. They set up Dawn and Leona's relationship from the beginning. Dawn's larger character arc in the series hangs over the whole thing. The relationship is built upon throughout the episode via both the flashbacks and interactions in the story. And all this builds up to the payoff of the final battle, where we get to see Dawn and Leona work together, have that chemistry and battle together, and make their strategy to put up a solid fight against Ash and Brock. It's pretty great stuff. Also, it ends with them actually using the hot spring, so that checkoff gun from earlier is fired. Did I mention the Johto episode is a hot spring episode where no one goes into a hot spring? Cause yeah, the Johto episode is a hot spring episode where no one goes to a hot spring. Ultimately, Hot Spring Fever and Hot Spring League are products of their eras of the show. One is from a series that is just spinning its wheels, waiting for the spark of the next generation to get things going again. The other is in the heart of a series several years in the making, with several years of learned experience under its belt. Hot Spring Elite isn't even anywhere close to a top episode of Diamond and Pearl. Heck, I'd argue this episode isn't even the best episode in this small time frame, between Dawn's second big first round loss and Ash's gym fight against Maylene. But it exists in a world where the standard itself was just so much higher. These episodes are a testament to where things went wrong with Johto and what Diamond and Pearl learned from those mistakes. How to write filler, how to add character even in episodes that aren't main story events, how to structure an episode to keep the audience engaged. And in the end, when put side by side, in these episodes you can see the clear improvements. Oh my god, I actually finished this. I actually made a new video. I am so sorry for how completely lacking content this summer's been. It's been absolutely chaotic and just really rough, you know. My computer dying on me, having to get a new laptop, having to deal with a lot of other personal stuff, big changes and stuff behind the scenes, and just this channel had to take a back seat, and you know, there was a lot of technical stuff, issues that were popping up, and just I'm really sorry that there wasn't as many videos this summer as I was hoping, but I got this one done. I finally have something out for Aniplex Assortment. Hopefully that means I can do some more, even with the summer kind of getting into the last month here. But yeah, just thank you for sticking out with me and watching this video, and look forward to more stuff. Hopefully things will be less chaotic and there'll be less trouble going into the back half of this year. And just thank you all for coming in. Until next time, bye.